Watch the shocking moment a migrant on a packed dinghy shouts, "We're coming to London," as he joins dozens of others crossing the English Channel illegally.
Baby, come to London.
The TikTok clip shows around 50 young men carrying a huge inflatable boat towards the water, laughing, filming themselves and posing for the camera before setting off. It comes as the number of people making the dangerous journey across the Channel has already surpassed last year's total, with 2 months of the year still to go. More than 36,800 migrants have arrived in small boats so far in 2025, higher than the figure for the whole of 2024. At first light on Wednesday, another group was filmed leaving northern France, around 30 people boarding a dinghy bound for Dover as French police searched the dunes nearby. Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood says the previous government left our borders in crisis, calling the latest figures shameful. She insists the new administration is taking action, claiming 35,000 people here illegally have already been detained or removed, and that a new deal with France is sending arrivals back. But she admits we must go further and faster to restore order at the border. Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer has also met Western Balkans leaders this week as Britain looks to clamp down on smuggling routes, bringing thousands of people through Europe and into the UK.
The Western Balkans has long been a vital transit route for the criminal smuggling gangs. You don't want to see those gangs operating in your territory, and we all suffer the consequences of their action. We're talking of a criminal enterprise here, a vile trade with people making huge amounts of money that directly impacts on all of us. So we have to take these gangs down, smash them, through proper, purposeful cooperation. And we're going further today as the United Kingdom, announcing new sanctions against 13 individuals. And we're increasingly using these sanctions as an effective way of bearing down on this trade. And these are 13 individuals today that we are imposing new sanctions on, who profit from this trade in human misery. Because we will stop at nothing to pursue criminals like this across their network, so they've got nowhere to hide. In the Western Balkans, Russia is seeking to exploit ethnic tensions, to weaken institutions, and to undermine democracy. We've all seen their tactics. They're very familiar now. Cyber attacks, disinformation, and physical threats. And that's why we're providing new support on cybersecurity across the region.
Tory Shadow Home Secretary Chris Philp says the Channel has become a conveyor belt for illegal immigration and accused Labour of creating a revolving door deportation scheme. The Liberal Democrats have called the numbers deeply concerning, while refugee groups say many making the crossing are fleeing war and persecution, warning that the lack of safe and legal routes forces people into the hands of smugglers. The Home Office is expected to release updated figures later today, but with record crossings, mounting pressure and viral videos like this one, the debate over Britain's borders is far from over. GB News' Alex Armstrong reacted to this footage last night.
Well, over 36,000 in, 42 out, and then 1 back in again. That is the latest national humiliation for Britain. And do you remember that deal Starmer struck with the pound shop Napoleon, Emmanuel Macron, the president of France, the so-called one in, one out deal? Well, as we predicted, it's been about as effective as a chocolate teapot. According to the Daily Express, a bloke we shipped back to France on September 19th was one of the few we managed to deport to France. It was hailed as a milestone by Shabana Mahmood and the Labour government, but just under 4 weeks later, guess what? He's back. He's hopped right back on a dinghy and washed up on our shores again on October the 18th. Well, he claims he was scared of smugglers in Paris and claimed that France wasn't safe. Yes, of course, it's the same France that sees 9.3 million British tourists a year and is one of the most rich and prosperous countries in the world. On top of that latest humiliation, Keir Starmer has now abysmally and unequivocally failed to smash the gangs, it seems. In fact, this government is such a magnet for illegal migrants that they have smashed last year's record of small boat arrivals, tallying up to over 36,500 with 2 full months to go before 2025's even over. That grim milestone figure was passed at lunchtime today as 2 Border Force vessels arrived at Dover Harbour with 150 migrants on board. And GB News can tonight exclusively reveal footage of one of the boats leaving France.
الدفعة الثانية فرنسا بريطانيا فرات ابو حسين العراقي ارفع من جوا لك ارفع من جوا يا رب يا ميسر الدفعة الثانية يا رب يا ميسر اليوم شو يلا تكبير يلا لك ارفع من جوا ارفع من جوا.
And we've got more. GB News has obtained footage of those migrants on their way to break into our country.
Baby, come to London. Okay, green light.
Well, it's always worth reminding the country of the cost, both monetarily and culturally, to the United Kingdom. The asylum hotel bill alone was north of £8 billion under the Tories. And now under Labour, it's still chewing through about £6 million a day just to house these arrivals. That's your money propping up luxury digs while British people queue, in some cases, for over a decade to get a council home. 60 million dished out for private GP access for small boat arrivals, another 100 million blown on deterrence measures that clearly aren't working, £500 million to French police to watch migrants as they float off to Britain, and even 2.4 million a year on snacks and catering during their welcome parties. And on top of all of that, we've had rapes, death threats aimed at politicians, murders, paedophilia, all part of the great cultural enrichment you are paying for by the so-called doctors and nurses coming to Britain. Well, we've seen rising anger at mass uncontrolled migration in Britain, and it's no surprise to me whatsoever that it spread to Ireland too. This was Dublin last night. Yeah, riots tearing through the streets, hundreds raging outside a migrant hotel in City West after a reportedly rejected asylum seeker who has apparently been facing deportation since March, by the way, was charged in connection with the alleged sexual assault of a 10-year-old girl. Fireworks were flying, cars torched, police battered with missiles, and there's been 6 arrests so far, and violent protest in whatever circumstance is not acceptable, by the way, but it is the tip of the iceberg. It's like a powder keg, isn't it, at the moment? Our own GB News reporter, Doogie Beattie, and our camerawoman were subjected to violence from the Irish police themselves, smacked to the ground, pepper sprayed, and seemingly targeted like the Free Press were the enemy.
A crowd turned up here, about 2,000 people, and they started to march down towards the City West Hotel. And of course, as soon as that started, the TSG, the public order section of the Garda Síochána, the Republic of Ireland's police force, moved in. Now, during that time, they attacked us, the media, right in the middle of that, and I've never ever seen that before. But what they've done is they've pushed all the rioters down the road into little side streets here, and right now there's a very tense standoff.
Yeah, well, Doogie, hats off to you, mate. You are a hero for fearlessly reporting on the truth over there, despite the circumstances. But of course, back here in the UK, how much more of this humiliation can we take? How much more of our money is this government willing to blow on bringing these useless and sometimes dangerous people to our country? My message to Keir Starmer and Shabana Mahmood is this: you might as well start the mass deportations of these men now, because if you don't, the next government will. And when they do, all the time and money you've wasted, all the crimes that have been committed in your term in office will be the only legacy that you will leave behind. All right, let's get the thoughts of my panel. Journalist and broadcaster Nina Mishkov, former Conservative Special Advisor James Price, and businessman and activist Adam Brooks. Good evening, everybody. James, I'll start with you. We're seeing this never-ending crisis. It's never-ending crisis because it seems to me governments across the West, not just here in the United Kingdom, but across Europe, are not getting tough on this issue. That is why these men are coming over in their droves. That's why the government's now smashed their own gangs target, haven't they, with over 36,500 arrivals, the whole of last year's number already here. When's this going to give?
Yeah, it's not going to give. It's going to keep going. It's going to keep getting worse until and unless the government gets to grips with some of the root causes of this. Root causes being it's still very, very attractive for someone to come to Britain compared to other places, compared to staying in France, compared to going anywhere, frankly, really, other than maybe Germany, who are equally as suicidally attractive to some of these places. Until you have a disincentive or a deterrent, something like sending people to Rwanda, you're never going to fix this. Until you fix the legal morass, the legal mess that we've got ourselves in, that makes it so difficult to deport these people because they can claim using the European Convention on Human Rights or the British statute, the British laws, things like the Human Rights Act that reference that, till you get rid of all of that. And I think now at this point, because these gangs who smuggle people over are so well established, until we send out either capture or kill orders of the people who run those gangs and the people operating it, you're never going to get anything done. But if you did those things, it would be pitifully easy to solve this problem. So you've got to have the government getting to grips with this. And Starmer's never going to do that because what does he care about more than anything else? International law.